State of the Union Education Ballad. Craft versus art. Your one last juicy revelry perched atop the flickering end of a wing shelf. Delicate threads woven into years of preparation for the skin. Tasted rust, covered memories served in casserole dishes, clinging together in latent globules until the fluid bursts out raw and pink over their fries and their flies and their cries of freedom made in the sesquiterpene woods, finally creating the vision you told no one about. Labels versus vibrations. In the major label-loving things we intend to unify, we instead craft wedges. Pulling apart splinter by splinter the bones we have built our bodies around, leaving spirit behind, destitute, unwilling, a sinking stone. The barbarian's feast can't align in scrupulous masses of amalgamated symmetry. We beg the apes and octogenarians to live freely their destiny. As deep rumble rolls from the pithy flesh of earth, we feel its molten core. And these transmutations of the soul through words, notes, and sex can rip us asunder or swallow us whole in unconditional love alchemy. Logic quells emotion, and the cycle burns pistons, rubbing in the skin, silently ripping, until our retinas are bathed in ash and no light can get in. We cauterize with our complacent categories the logic of what was and what must be, somehow trumping the raw art and emotion of expressed catharsis, longing to be exposed and vulnerable and true. The veritas expression weeds us into thin dandelion greens, our roar now minuscule, until each savory breath, laden with tarpaulins, made of iron releases, the dam breaks against our wounds and the truth spills forth with feeling. You're hurried, crabbing lengths of my intestines in sinew so matter-of-factly. All my crevices yearn to catch my breath and let out the howl. My innards have craved for years, a day too late. Separation versus oneness. Crashing into separation seeps the paint, contaminating us until oneness doesn't seem possible or real anymore. Yet the envelopment of you and I in oneness never falters. Fear bleeds us dry and rips away the little lung tissue we have left, and yet unity never needs air. There's always full of oxygen and not wielding a Triton, but a solar system. Box or an ocean? Don't give me your AABA 12-bar box when I've built a vast and endless hope out of swift, soft sand, escaping, fleeing from the misogynistic revelry of the apartheid. We will not come back to life as the squalor you enmesh this fragile country in. Fear versus love. Because it all pivots. A pin missile, riding on a fulcrum teeter-totter, waving fear or love. As my fellow poets quote the history of the slave trade and Coltrane's A Love Supreme in one breath. We grasp together into our deepest knowing rather than fishing for notes within the improvisation of disintegrating straws. We own the story if we choose the winding path of love every time. And so undulating into the madness might only mean you're finally sane. jazz-induced twin flame resistance. Jimmy Heath's rash thoughts crash into the record scratch as heartburn and radiators glare outward towards the hyperbole of asbestos, itching the obviousness of your stare before 6 a.m. You can't use Nicholas Slonimsky to scale your way out of this cavern. We've created the density of quarter tones scraping against the dark dust that used to hold our hearts together like sewn stars, until the rebound stroke of mass inoculation ravaged our lungs. Orion's belt singed and nearly slipping away. The stopped trickle of matriculation chews, spits, and swallows with multiple meters, a polyrhythmic assault on what we once were. Before the virus claimed a vibrant puzzle piece, we thought we knew how to place. Edges worn cardboard security, why didn't I just reap the forging and drip faux ink into the crevices of my wellness to better survive this hashtag trilogy of dis-ease? We crawled, fatigued fugitives buried in miles of sandy pebbles flight, against the harder pellets and ill-worn untruths talking heads might spew. I even refused the psychic, afraid again to fail. How many days and months ripped apart rib cages to forge the fabricated fallacy not quite dense enough to snap into place? Why, oh why must we constantly erase the release of our bridge as it masticates the definitions into regurgitated past life failures? Amidst the slew of slurred 16th notes and swung time, why do we refuse to take hold, dig our fingernails in, and rhyme? The verse never did. It splayed out the story of lush life and Ella's fair dreams no one heard until the choruses were abused with repetition and mental masturbation even neutered flocks couldn't fetter away. From plumb, Piscean disgust of a robotic brain swell we never asked for. Our wild horses still cling to the dew we condensate together. A galloping flurry, in and out of our jungle mind and ether essence, an astral element, our alternate dimensional bliss we call home to every type of expression, happening simultaneously in a dark, sweet, red, exposed frenzy of jazz-induced twin flame resistance.
Hi, I'm Andy O, host of The Night Side here on KUVO, also on KUVO on YouTube. It's a poetry show, poetry and all that jazz. It's also Poetry Month right now as we're doing this, and I want to introduce you to E.P. Archer, poet, singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, composer, and you can find her work on Spotify and Facebook. And I'm really glad to have you here. Thanks for coming in.
Oh, thanks for having me, Andy. It's my pleasure.
So how is it to be a poet in today's world? How is it to be EP these days?
I mean, with the current climate in our country, I think it's more important than ever to have a lifeline, to have an outlet, to have a way to express who you are through poetry, through music. And in my life, it's always been the thing that kept me alive. And I mean that not figuratively, but actually. It's been the thing that has allowed me to dig deep and to be able to find out who I am, to express, to be all the things that I am, with art as sort of the champion of that, which is so important for people to be able to feel. And everybody's feeling lots of things right now. And so to be able to feel those and express those and share them and hopefully connect with people on that deeper level has just been of paramount importance to me.
Well, and a person like you is so important as a truth teller. And art is freedom of speech. It's why you have freedom of speech. It's why people lost blood for this, you know. Did you start first as a poet or a violinist? Which came first?
Well, I guess it's a toss-up. My first performance, I was in a play when I was 18 months old. And I was in a choir starting at 4 years old. And I started the violin at 8. And I don't think I officially wrote my first poem till maybe middle school.
So when did poetry and violin become, well, one discipline for you?
Yeah, well, I think I have to credit Jam Before the Slam a little bit and some of the local poets here that I've worked with in town. Violin is this instrument that gets really stuck in a box. You know, it's classical violin. And of course, we have a lot of famous jazz violinists, you know, Jean-Luc Ponty, Stuff Smith, and Regina Carter. There's people that are doing it, but it's still very much thought of as a fiddle or a classical violin. And I think I'm a person that always wants to break barriers of what this is supposed to be. Like, hey, you're playing a violin, but you're plucking it. What's with the pizzicato? Because just like with poems where we want to use words creatively to express how we feel, not be in a box of, well, it has to be a sonnet, it has to have this rhyme scheme, but to just let things flow and release. That's how violin kind of came to join with poetry. And so I love the idea of music with poetry. I've also done stuff with piano. I've done stuff in a group setting. I've accompanied other poets and spoken word acts. And I love that idea of collaboration and, like, you know, cross-curricular integration of different disciplines.
Now, just in case you didn't know, the Jam Before the Slam takes place at the, well, now it's going to be called Pearl, but at the Mercury Cafe. And so it was a situation where you'd have musicians and a poet would get up and perform with music, perhaps not ever having rehearsed or worked with musicians. Now, did you join in on any of those?
Yeah, I've been a feature a couple times, and I've sat in and I've done some of the April Poetry Month Poetry Rodeo as a featured poet. I'm featured on Seth, who has run that for 30 years. He has an audiobook he just released, and so I'm featured on that actually as a composer. Oh. I wrote a string trio for one of his tracks on his audiobook.
So when I say composer, you're talking putting music in front of a string trio and stuff like that?
Yeah, that was really fun. Yeah, I do all the things. I compose jazz, classical, all the things, and songwriter, those kind of, all the disciplines are fun in different ways, I think.
Well, and it's like for you and I, we're both musicians and poets. April is a particularly interesting month because we get lots of money back on our taxes. Because
that's what I look forward to every year, to buy the next musical instrument, right?
Yeah. But yeah, here it is, Jazz Appreciation Month, and also National Poetry Month as well. So for people like us, it fits right in our wheelhouse. I really appreciate you coming down here and talking with us. And again, you have Spotify as EP Archer.
Yep.
And so you can find her works there. And also on Facebook, you have, a Facebook page.
I do.
Again, thank you so much for coming down.
Thank you, Andy.
Appreciate
it's been a pleasure.
And you've been watching some Nightside Poetry right here on our YouTube channel.